Amanda Nunes have probably fucked me up. It doesn't mean that she, that I'm a woman. If this.
Speaking of douches, Richard Dawkins, big piece of shit. This comes from a person who is a big Richard Dawkins fan. I adore some of his books. The Selfish Gene, for example, The Greatest History in the Universe or in the World. I forget the name of that one. The God Delusion. Oh, fantastic books. They really helped shape my understanding of genetics and memes when I was younger. The Greatest Show on Earth. Thank you. The Greatest Show on Earth. Really, really good book on evolution. All fantastic work. But then there's the aspect of him which was unfortunately a little bit, let's just say, colonial. He definitely, like, you remember that tweet he made where it's like, so much nicer hearing the wonders of the church bells in the morning than Allahu Akbar or anything else that will pierce my British mayonnaise ears. So yeah, he's a bit of an Islamophobe. He hates the term Islamophobe. He hates if you use the term Islamophobe to describe him as well. So there's that. If anyone doesn't know, James Lindsay is basically Alex Jones if he had a PhD. So that's the quickest and easiest way I could describe James Lindsay. And so let's take a little look at James Lindsay's article called Decolonizing the Curriculum. Nearly everywhere in educational circles, we hear calls to decolonize the curriculum of our schools. This is in part a broad movement consistent with the program labeled social justice. It draws heavily on the neo-Marxist critical tradition as well as postmodernist conceptions of knowledge, power, and culture. These theories were developed by post-colonial scholars, drawing on French philosophers Michel Foucault and Jacques Derrida, as well as critical education theorists. These tradition of radical activists slowly fused in higher education and coalesced into pushing a decolonize just about everything, including the curriculum, the faculty, the university, literature, science, and even time and space. I thought we had not the time, but we only have the space. I mean, words like racism, which no longer describes intentional acts of racial prejudice, but instead sees what is generally understood as racism as the most obvious symptoms of a mysterious set of systemic power dynamics that pervade all of society, always operating from whiteness and always oppressive. This understanding of racism is believed to be so deeply and permanently embedded in the system that even when no genuine racists or overt acts of racial prejudice are present, the system itself can be regarded as racist. These kind of lexical issues apply just as much as the words curriculum, colonize. Decolonizing the curriculum is just one step in a long march, as it was originally described by the communist philosopher Antonio Gramsci in Prison Notebooks, to do away with liberalism and Enlightenment rationality and replace it with the utopian dream, euphemistically described as ideal democracy. The starting place for the revolution is one in our institutions, particularly our educational ones. This is good old-timey McCarthyism, you see. The communists are everywhere. They're not even called communists anymore. Now they're postmodern neo-Marxists. That's right. Have you been to the Frankfurt School? And if you go there, see, you'll find out some great things about these Jewish people and the Jewish problem. Yeah, see? Of knowledge, epistemology, pedagogy, as explained in Decolonizing the University. Indeed, at its heart, decolonization is about recognizing the roots of contemporary racism and multiple material, political, social, cultural processes of colonialism and proceeding from that point. Everybody. This is what the kids call malarkey. This is utter malarkey. This like, I never went for my doctorate. I didn't even go for my master's. Even going for Bachelor of Arts in English literature, I would not have been able to hand in an essay like this. I would have been laughed out of the room. They would have been like, the citations, please. Like, the whole thing is the feels over the reals. Like, you pointed out what you think is a problem. You've then strawmanned the whole thing to be about post-Marxist theory. This is embarrassing that someone like Richard Dawkins, who again, I do believe genuinely is concerned with peer-reviewed, double-blind scientific studies, stuff of that nature, this one is ridiculous.
We're thinking about how Western domination, specifically colonialism, imperialism, and racism, has shaped academic knowledge and disciplines over the past couple of centuries. So we might ask the question of why non-Western voices have previously been excluded from the curriculum in the UK and elsewhere. Now, there's a lot of complex causes to this. There's structural reasons, material reasons, as well as what we might think of as cultural or intellectual ones.
Rogan, 3 weeks ago, interviewing the guy who wrote that article, James Lindsay. So let's see how James Lindsay talks about the world.
Came from. That was when the Calvin.
I think I've been giving Joe Rogan a pass because, yes, he did really, really well the other day against Ben Shapiro. Good points for you, Joe. But at the same time, he has still been so very shitty about trans issues, trans rights in general, and the idea, like, this wasn't from years ago. It was like a week ago. He posted a video where he's debating someone, talking about, sorry, not debating, he's talking to a woman about, the idea of giving children hormone blockers, and is just so far beyond the pale. Like I would hope and pray at some point he brings on a guest. He brings on a guest where the guest can actually teach him about this kind of stuff. Because Joe will listen to his guests. Like, he's a lot better than the rest, where he actually, like, he learns, right? This is Joe Rogan, 3 weeks ago, interviewing the guy who wrote that article, James Lindsay. So let's see how James Lindsay talks about the world.
Came from. That was when the Calvinists got, like, fire and brimstone, Jonathan Edwards screaming, sinners in the hands of an angry God. You're hanging on a spider's thread above the fires of hell, and God should knock you into it because everybody's full of sin. Next thing you know, they're killing witches. So it's like you start focus. If you look up, then religion can be great. It can actually lead people, if they spiritual development, community, so on. But if you're looking down, you're going to start obsessing about everybody. If you're obsessing about sin, you're going to start obsessing about everybody else's sin too.
Yes.
Because you're going to want to, like, there's this feeling with, again, reading Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, there's this feeling like that she doesn't want to feel alone.
I wish I could enjoy White Fragility. I don't. I find it just a really lib piece of literature, because it's pissing off so many of the ghouls. Like Ben Shapiro, James Lindsay, everyone is just so upset by this book. It's like, wow, how could this happen?
Like, she has these struggles and she doesn't want to be alone.
So she's a white lady?
Oh, yeah. Robin DiAngelo's a white lady who goes in and for like $12,000 a pop does these corporate seminars.
What?
And, yeah, 12 grand for 2 hours, and teaches. She goes in and tells white people that they're racists, and then like interrogates their feelings when they get defensive about it.
Oh my goodness.
It's like the biggest corporate training hustle ever. And her idea of White Fragility, you can't disagree with it. There's no way to disagree. I've absolutely rammed it on some people on Twitter who are these wokies that come and try to trash me. And I just say, that looks a little bit like White Fragility, and I give some reason that's kind of out of the literature. And then they are like, I can't have white fragility, I'm whatever. And it's like, oh, that's definitely, you're getting defensive. Defensiveness is one of the symptoms of white fragility. You just want to deny your complicity in the system of racism that you benefit from. And it's just like, you can't get away from it, because
right, that kind of language, like what you just said, is that's like checkmate.
It's like the kind of stuff like, so the other day, right, Stephen King got dragged into this with the whole trans thing.
Yeah, how did he get dragged into that? What happened?
Well, so he's a long time been a supporter of J.K. Rowling, and
yes.
J.K. Rowling has decided that she's had enough of this, trans rights thing going after the women's issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so at first Stephen King stood up for her, and she put out a tweet saying, you're such a good friend, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody came after him, and he's like, trans women are women. And it's like, he just caved, like just immediately caved. And it's like, all woke and no play makes Steve a dull boy, So he caves. And
oh, yeah, I got a joke. It's a line from The Shining. Have you read the book or seen the film? And yeah. Did he cave or did he play her? I thought he was playing her. I thought it was the bait and switch. I thought that's why everyone was so happy. I didn't know that he caved. What a coward. What a coward. What a true coward, that man.
You get this sense that it's like something out of one of the novels he would have wrote.
Yeah.
Right? Like all of a sudden it's like Needful Things. It's like the whole town's going crazy because of demon possession, and you have to get the stuff. I don't know.
Trans women are trans women. That's what they are.
I don't see that as being difficult. As a matter of fact,
that's difficult, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I
that's what I
feel
say.
like they're equal to all of us, and we're fine. And
like, what's the problem?
I got dragged into that, if you know, because of a mixed martial arts fighter.
Oh,
there was a woman,
Fallon Fox.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "This is my hill. I will die on this."
Oh
hill.
yeah, I mean,
you're crazy.
Brutal.
Yeah, watching the fights were brutal, and not skill wise either. It was just raw.
So y'all, this wasn't like a year ago. This wasn't like 10 years ago. This was 3 weeks ago that this was recorded. Okay.
If you had someone who was taking steroids for 30 years and then they got off steroids for 2, you would absolutely think that person had a massive advantage for being on steroids all those years.
That's right.
If they were a woman.
That's right.
Particularly, a man, yes, as well, but particularly if you're a woman and you're on steroids for 30 years and you get off them. That's what being a man is. It's not just being on steroids for 30 years and then transitioning to no steroids. It's also having the physical structure of a man. The differences in the hips, the shoulders, the size of the hands. There's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on there.
And this is an area of my own. I have very few areas of expertise. But beating the fuck out of people is one of my areas of expertise. I'm a professional commentator on this. So when I see that, I mean, I used to teach martial arts for a living. I understand it. I understand fighting more than probably understand most things. You're crazy if you think there's not a difference between female and male bodies.
I mean, the data are unequivocal about that.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where I was like, okay, this is one of the rare places where I really, if I go down on this one, like this is not I can't see trans women just dominating in women's MMA. It's crazy.
No, I hear you.
I do not mind.
So, a couple things. This is obviously a big talking point for conservatives and right-wingers. They've picked a lot of hills to die on. And the goalpost keeps getting moved because, again, the science keeps on destroying their arguments, but they keep moving. And this is one they like to settle on. You'll notice, though, it's never about trans men. All right? It's always about trans women. It's only in one direction. That's the only concerns they seem to have. It's never about women transitioning into men, playing in different leagues. What if they play in women's leagues all of a sudden? It's always in the opposite direction. It's they only care about one thing. And again, the data and the science doesn't back them up, which is why, the actual Olympic Committee has been allowing this for some time. There are rules and regulations. I believe you have to be on hormone therapy for about 12 months before you can. But if you want to listen to someone describe and debunk every single aspect of that, check out. She's in the chat right now. Ninetails Cosmic Fox's recent debate on modern day debate. I'll link it in the description of this video. And you can see someone get picked apart in terms of every single goalpost that keeps getting moved in this conversation.
That they choose to fight trans women if they know in advance.
Sure.
The Fallon Fox issue was she had fought twice as a woman without letting anyone know that she used to be a man for 30 years. And I was like, you're crazy. You can't just do that. If someone wants to fight a trans woman and they're cool with it, like there's a woman who fought in the UFC, her name is Ashley Evans Smith, and she wound up actually beating Fallon Fox and made her way to the UFC. But she's just far more skillful.
Very skillful, yeah.
Yeah, but that's.
He just debunked himself in real time. He was like, oh, no, they can't possibly play. They can't because there's just too much of an advantage. And because they've got such advantage from all their man muscles and superpowers, there's nothing that can be done. Like, they're just going to get in there. Oh, but she was defeated, yes. How? Oh, someone was more skillful. Oh. So they can be defeated then, in that case. Which, again, was something I had to look up because I didn't know a lot behind this. They pointed out the fact that, this athlete ended up giving someone a concussion, and it's terrible. It's just vicious. All right. If we have, people who used to be men who have transitioned over to being women competing against other women, they're going to seriously damage and hurt them. Like, it's just something we can't abide by. First off, in the UFC, part of just, slamming your fists into other human beings, concussions, skull fractures, stuff of that nature is pretty commonplace. So that wasn't like the first time that's ever happened. Secondly, as he points out, she was eventually defeated.
And fucking fire again.
Here is a woman beating up a trans woman in front of Joe Rogan in the middle of the UFC.
Let's go. We got to turn inside. We got to do something. Can Ashley catch her here? Oh. She does. Fallon was momentarily. Knees buckle. As Ashley corner. A sweet 1-2. Fox, you got to move. Let's go. Fallon Fox, in her 3-fight pro career, has never been in a situation like this. Listen to this crowd once again. Cheering.
Sorry, I don't know if Joe Rogan's there. I don't hear him doing a commentary. But anyways, yes, a woman beat up a trans woman in this case. So according to Joe Rogan's own logic, then shouldn't this be something like, oh, well, you're kind of refuting my own point. And the idea of saying trans women are women because they are women, all right? That's like the idea that he's trying to hold this at arm's length just to be like, well, come on, if we acquiesce to that, then something is far gone, we've lost, we're beyond the pale. At that point, the chaos reigns. So we have to we're just being centrist about this, okay? I'm just going to keep this we're going to keep everything in its right lane. Trans women are trans women. Women are women, and that's it, right? There's biological women, and then there's women who transition. That's it. They're two separate things. So let's just always keep these things at arm's length.
She's a real UFC caliber fighter. That's why she was able, like if I had to choose between like Fallon Fox fought Amanda Nunes, who's like the greatest woman of all time. Amanda Nunes would kill her.
Sure.
Well, then problem solved. The greatest UFC fighter of all time can defeat any other opponent. So maybe it's not a huge problem that you're choosing to vilify trans people for. Maybe you just debunked yourself.
Kill her, but
absolutely.
But it doesn't mean that she's a woman, just because that just.
So again, right there, it's we've gone so far, and I admit that there's really nothing defensible about my argument, but I'd still like to keep it at arm's length. I like that. This is more just pointing towards its own bigotry, right? Like, okay, fine. Sure enough, there's not really a problem in terms of their ability to compete against actual, biological women. So there's not really a problem I see here. But at the same time, I just can't call them that. I refuse. I guess I gotta gatekeep. Male gatekeeping too. Ooh, male gatekeeping over women. Interesting.
Just because Amanda Nunes would probably fuck me up. It doesn't mean that she, that I'm a woman. If this. Fallon Fox guy gets beat up by Amanda Nunes. I really didn't mean to misgender her there. But if she gets beat up by Amanda Nunes, it doesn't invalidate her as a trans woman. It doesn't, it says you're not biologically a woman.
Right.
And this is.
So there you have it, everybody. Again, not 3 weeks ago, not 3 years ago, 3 weeks ago. There you have it. That's the whole thing. Joe Rogan debunks Joe Rogan in real time. Courtesy of Lance. He's also suggesting you're only a man if you always beat women. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, saying that you're only a man if you always beat women every single time. That's what makes you a man. Yeah, I'm only a man if I can always beat up girls. That's it. And sorry, yes, that's the last point I wanted to end on this whole thing on. This whole argument, all right, hinges on the idea that women are inherently inferior to men in terms of their ability to play sports, and because of that, we then have to set up these different conditions. That's what he has to do here in order to make this whole thing work as well.
To our monarch, Thomas Bo, you are the light that guides our path. To our lords, I'm Rav, Stephen, Ninetails Cosmic Fox, and Hans Josephine. We bow meekly for your pleasure. To our knights of the Round Table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Byth, Alexander Thaler, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Clement Chutskop, Sky Bear Games, Moss Beast, Political Puppy, Alan R., Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, we salute you. And to all our merchants and farmers, you have our undying loyalty and love.